Cool.
All right. Wow, this is a really cool game. We are neck and neck. Just kidding. 5-3.
Spoiler alert. Strike.
Jeez. That was a sick pitch, though.
Yeah.
It's funny when I watch with Cheyenne, and I'm like, God, that was such a good pitch. Even if it was from the opposite team, she's like, what are you doing? Why are you rooting for the other team? I'm like, I'm rooting for whoever did the job well. Like, it's like,
I'm the same way when I'm with basketball too. Like, I mean, at this point, I really don't have like a favorite team that I only cheer for. I just want to see a good game. So it's more like if I see a good play, no matter who's playing, I'll be like, oh yeah, that was a good play. So I know where you're coming from.
I mean, even watching like any of our home teams watch a team in a championship where it matters the most, where it's postseason.
Yeah.
If I see the opponents make a great play, I'm not mad about it. I'm like, that was excellent work. I was like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And I like, as much as, sorry to cut you off, but as much as like when our team gets like a base, for instance, in baseball, if I think that the call was wrong, like, I'll say it. And
I'll say it.
I have no quarrels, no qualms.
No qualms. Zero dimes.
Absolutely zero dimes. I'll be like, oh no, that was definitely an out. And my people would be like, shut the fuck up. And I'm just like, no, I'm just acknowledging when someone does their job really, really well.
Right, exactly. I mean, you're appreciating the game for itself. I mean, you have your love for your team, but then you're also being a fan of the game in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I mean, maybe we'll lose some fans from the show from this, but if you're like, oh no, I can't believe that you would rather our people not advantage from that regardless of the play. I'm like, no, I want our team to win outright correctly. That's what I want to see. And if we lose, I want them to lose correctly. If there's bad calls against our team,
are you seeing the breathing tube that's on this dude's ear right now?
Oh, I thought this was something about Mary. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. No, if our team loses incorrectly based off of poor umpiring,
oh yeah.
That is when I will blow a gasket. And
right.
that's,
of course.
That's the time. Not when the other team is doing well. And I like, oh my goodness. So this guy, Matt Vierling, who we tend to coin aka trash can.
I was going to say trash can. That's trash can, right?
Unfortunately, he just does not put up the number. I mean, there are times that I've seen him do well, and there is a reason why he is in the professional league. I mean, they called him up from the minors because of the injury, so that doesn't feel great either. But at the same time, in this picture right here with his gold pearl necklace around his neck, it's like, you know, just like, all right, well, I'm either going to make you feel like you deserve to be in a pro, okay, you watch the ball, or I'm going to send you back to the minor leagues because you're trash. You know what I mean?
I can't I can't imagine being like inches away from a 97 mile an hour fastball. No way, dude.
I mean,
if you're a seasoned baseball player, it's nothing, obviously, but for somebody who's not used to, being in the middle of those type of plays, holy crap, that's got to just be like insane.
I mean, YouTube and the internet, well, not the two of them separately because YouTube is a part of the internet, but like watching YouTube and watching what they call intentional hits, which I have watched the compilation videos of those.
Yeah.
Pardon me. But, and to which I think more than half of them, I don't think are intentional, but the ones that look like, oh yeah, they definitely threw them at this person or tried to make it look like an accident. I'm like,
right.
Oh my God, this is like life and death stuff here. Yeah. I mean, we gotta.
Okay.
Well, we gotta zero back to the thing that we need to follow up about after this ends. But
yeah,
I think after seeing some of the videos of the people being hit, I think the most important thing to commend is the guys that get hit, that even if they make a gesture with like a stare or a look where it's just like, yeah, literally the sniff. Yeah. They're like, okay, while that might have been intentional, I'm not going to make a big deal about this. I'm going to walk it off like a man. I'm just going to take it as it was. I also would like to agree with the people that are like, I know in my mind after, like, because you see the people that react immediately. They're like, oh, you do this intentionally. This is because you're scared of me and you want to put me out there for the season. Blah, 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 blah. And it's,
I'd say if a pitcher does it once, it's like, okay, maybe not intentional, but after like maybe a second or third one, then it's like, okay, dude, like now you're definitely like either trying to take out one of my players or it's in that type of sense. Like, okay, come on now.
Yeah. The one I was watching, it was either the second or third player that like the team started storming the field and I was like for a brawl and I was like, oh yeah, that was definitely warranted. That wasn't just like someone was just mad.
Yeah.
Because of one mistake, right?
Right. So that is the game. So for those of people who are, listening and not watching the video, we were doing a little live reaction to the end of the Phillies game. They were playing the Braves, so the Phillies took an L, 5-3. So I think we were mentioning before we started recording that this is the second game without Bryce Harper. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I believe this. He got injured in the third Padres game, and then they played the fourth Padres game without him and won. And we are going to round up the episode with my thoughts on that. So stay tuned. And how about we kickstart this episode? You ready?
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Hit. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of One Set. My name is Anthony Irvin. I'm here with my buddy, my best friend, Jim Green. How you doing, my friend?
Anthony, I'm doing great this week. I feel really good. I felt really bad the last 3 years. Just kidding. Just kidding. No, it's important to acknowledge, like, hey, there are days where you feel really down in the dumps and you are just picking yourself up. You're pushing through, and it's for anyone else that's like really going through it, that's like, I'm like trying to dig myself out of this hole, literally gravitate towards the things that make you feel good. And the other things, just try your best to push away from them. And if you can't, if you can't get away from them, attack them head on. Be strong. And if the resisting force doesn't understand your situation, maybe it's a bad situation, move your life in a different direction, right? That's what's important. So
absolutely.
I think after, running into some crash courses on my end, which is what dummies do the best. No, I was just thinking about Tommy Boy again.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't know Tommy Boy and you don't know Chris Farley, I guess we're too old. But
too old.
Take it from the ballerina right here. Yeah. So, Anth, what are we diving into this week? We have some things to talk about. Not a lot, but also a lot. It's not a lot of different things to talk about, but each thing that we want to talk about withholds a lot of significance. So, what do you think?
We haven't done a preview of a WWE event in a while, I think since WrestleMania. So this weekend, for anybody who is a wrestling fan, and we do talk a little wrestling on the podcast here, this week is money
or
Money in the Bank.
Or here comes the money. Oh, here comes money.
Oh, here it comes. Money in the Bank. WWE's event this Saturday. I'm still not used to them doing like Saturdays. I'm always thinking Sunday night at like 8:00, but it's Saturday night at 8:00. So for anybody thinking that it was Sunday, it's Saturday. So you're welcome.
I think part of that, honestly, is, well, they went to the PG era like 15 years ago, and they were like, oh, yeah, we're going to force kids to stay up on a Sunday night. And then someone after 15 years was like, hey, in the summer, maybe you should start putting your pay-per-views on Saturday night because your children that you're trying to attract to attend and watch will be allowed to watch. Like,
well, that sounds like pretty good. Let's try it.
Yeah, strong bad.
It's such good. Whoopsie. Strong bad.
That's the one, literally. I mean, okay, should we talk about this card or no? I mean, I have so. Oh my goodness!
It's a small card, but for the most part, it's pretty stacked. I mean, let's just get right into the first one. I mean, and I'm not sure if this is. This could kind of seem like it's going to be the order that it could be in. It seems like it. So first one we have here is Bianchi. Woo! I am really not being able to talk today.
Bianchi.
Bianca Belair versus Carmella for the women's championship. I'll tell you off the bat my prediction that Belair is going to retain.
Yeah. So the whole thing here is that, oh God, not Retribution. Judgment Day was Edge's pack, and Rhea Ripley was in it, and I think that Rhea Ripley was supposed to be the first title holder of the faction. So I thought Rhea Ripley was going to take the belt off of Bianca, and it was going to make Judgment Day look like it was not led by anyone, especially with Edge kicked out,
Yeah.
but that it was going to be the first faction ever built where the only title holder was the female. So it made the female look like the stronger key player in the
Yeah.
faction. And then you could have gotten Finn Balor and Damian Priest easily. I'm sorry, easily is a bad word. To get the tag titles off of the tag champions, but I also think that this was part of the plan when Cody was healthy to
Hmm.
get one of the belts off of Roman, so that the Usos weren't holding both of the tag belts either. So
Right.
for Finn Balor and Damian Priest to be holding the tag belts and Rhea Ripley to be holding the Raw Women's tag belt or Raw Women's Championship, it would have made Judgment Day look super strong as a faction. And
Yeah.
I don't think Edge would have positioned himself into creatively spinning that the way that he did, if it wasn't going in a good direction.
Hmm.
The Rhea Ripley injury obviously is hindering all this. But even with John Cena, they had um, Finn and Damian last night's basically come at Rey Mysterio and Dominic and be like,
Hmm.
hey, Rey, wasn't it also your 20-year debut? I don't see any celebration for you. Like, what's up? And I just sat here, I
Right.
was like, oh,
Oh
whoopsie.
my God.
Oh, Farouk over
Oh,
here.
Farouk.
No, but seriously, I was like, okay, they still they still kept. I keep wanting to say retribution because I wanted retribution to be like a thing, and it felt so awfully bad. Like, what is it called? Judgment Day, the pay-per-view, right?
Yeah.
I thought Cheyenne's prediction, where Finn and Damien came out when Cena was out, and then Edge came out to save the day. I was like, that would be such a great angle to get Edge back in. But
Yeah.
I think Edge is like, nah, I'm gonna lurk in the background and wait for a better moment where it fits me better, and
Hmm.
it will better suit them. And I think that he wants Rhea Ripley to be back in action for when he can do that.
Yeah. Can I
Um,
just say one thing about the whole faction with Judgment Day? I kind of like how I mean, Finn Balor is kind of like the top guy in that, but I feel like, the three of them, there's not too much star power. So I think it's like maybe one of the first factions where you don't really have a star in that to really be like having like, oh, like before that you had Edge. He was the big guy. He was, Hall of Famer. So you wanted to make sure and have like somebody to lead that thing. Well, now it's like, I mean, you got Baylor, but he still doesn't have that like star power quality. Like you don't have somebody like the leader. Like I feel like there's no like pinpointed leader of that. I mean, I haven't really been watching too much, so I mean, if there's people out there that kind of feel that there's one sided with, maybe Finn or maybe Finn is kind of being the leader of it, but I feel to me that this is a cool way that like everybody will be able to get their time to shine within this thing, where one of them is not going to overpower the two of them.
So I want to piggyback off that if you're good with it, and
Hmm.
I love what you're saying. I actually agree with what you're saying so heartedly. I want to position this as three separate options for the future of Judgment Day. Okay, what's the most what offers the most prosperity? Okay, let's say Finn Balor just comes in, Edge is gone. Now Finn Balor's in charge because he's been Universal Champion before, and Damian Priest is just kind of like, yeah, I'm like the strong guy here.
Yeah.
Um, so Finn's the guy in charge. Here's the thing. I literally watched last night. I watched Finn and Damien next to each other, and I watched Finn command the conversation. But I looked at
Mm.
Damien, and I was like, Damien's the
Whoopsie.
guy.
Yeah.
I was like, Damien's a leader in all of this. And I was like, okay, this could also go back to um
I mean,
like
Damien, other than Edge, I mean, Damien was the first person to be, uh, introduced to the Judgment Day. So it's understandable that, with Edge out of the faction, that Damien would be the top person. So I understand your point where you're going with it too.
who did Edge face at Mania? Was it AJ?
Yes?
I want to
Was
say
it?
yes.
I think it was.
I don't remember who it was, but I know that Damian Priest's presence on the outside and him just looking into the ring and glaring
It was AJ Styles.
It was the distraction, and that's what caused Edge to get the win, to create the faction, and that's what made the swerve so special. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm like, I bet Edge was behind this entirely, the entire time, where he's like, let me pull a couple of these guys, but let me start it from February to March to April. Let me build this feud with this guy. Let me get Damian Priest, who's on the outside that you guys love, because it's no secret that backstage loves Damian Priest.
Yes.
And if they didn't, they wouldn't have agreed to it. So they put Damian Priest on the outside of the ring. They caused a distraction. Edge got the win, and then it was Edge and Damian Priest, and then they got Rhea Ripley in, which I love. I love that they got a female in. It makes me feel like a very China DX,
Yeah.
because Rhea Ripley feels like China level strong DX compared to the rest of the roster.
Right.
Pardon me. But for them to write Edge out, I think that they had so many other angles to this, and for Rhea to be angled out is immediately, to me, they just threw Carmella into the match with Bianca, to which I'm like, Bianca's retaining here, okay? If this is just a throwaway, like, Corey Graves is so great at commentary, let's give his wife something to do. She's attractive, but, like, she can't wrestle. Let's be serious. She just reminds me of... And I'm not saying that in an insulting way. I'm just saying, like, if someone wants to tell me she has wrestled great versus the other things that she has going for her, let's have a conversation. I will talk to you about it. We'll talk to you about her in-ring psychology. I know for a fact, like, the screeching, I hate it, and maybe that's like part of her heel gimmick. I hear it more than 2 times, and I'm putting on Family Feud with Steve Harvey. It's much easier and so much more fun.
Absolutely.
No problem. And what's next on the card anyway?
Next one we have is the men's Money in the Bank match.
Wait, should we hold these Money in the Bank matches off until the end?
Sure, let's do that. So we will jump to the fourth one that's on this card. Ronda Rousey and Natalya.
Okay, raise your hand if you have Natalya winning.
Cricket.
This literally just feels like, hey, we know Natalya is really good friends with Ronda Rousey, and we want to throw Natalya a bone, and we want to keep the belt on Ronda, clearly, and Natalya
This is the only way we can do it.
Natalya doesn't care about collecting that paycheck. Like,
it's a throwaway match. Let's just point that out. It's just a throwaway match. I mean, Ronda's obviously going to retain. I think she'll keep it for a little bit since, Charlotte's out of the picture, which, fine by me. We've been having a lot of Charlotte lately, so it's been okay having her, not working at this point. But then again, it's like, who do you have for Ronda Rousey? Because who are you going to say is going to beat Ronda Rousey other than these top people? But, again, I don't know when, but we're still waiting on a Bailey return. You could pull that somewhere somehow. You could just put that into SummerSlam somehow, if that's possible. I'm not sure how her health is with her injury is, because she's been out for over a year, I think, at this point, correct?
I thought it was before like the last Mania. It's been a while.
I think she's been out. I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong. I think she's been out since like last summer, or maybe in the fall.
I mean, okay, so let's talk about the big female attractions in WWE right now. So Charlotte Flair is getting to the point where we're sick of her because they're just giving her the Ric Flair treatment where they're like, okay, well, you're going to run through everybody and everyone's going to have to run through you. And if they can't topple you, then they're not good enough. And the only people that have toppled her are what? Ronda, Becky, Bailey, anyone else? Sasha. Sasha's gone.
Right.
She got released. She is going to whichever company wants to pay her the most, and
she'll rightfully wait for that, good payday, which she should. She should definitely wait for it.
It's going to be AEW. She is.
Yeah, I mean,
she is going to she's going to come in, I think, and beat Britt Baker in AEW and change the landscape of female wrestling in AEW, because women are going to look at, people that aspire to be female wrestlers. So like, this is how I have to talk, right? That aspire to enter the women division in WWE, that say, I have to go through boom, 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 boom. Or maybe I can make a name for myself and go through these couple of people in AEW, because when AEW started, the biggest weakness was their women's division.
Their weakness was their weakness.
When AEW started, the women's division was their largest weakness. But at the same time, WWE was hosting a WrestleMania where the women headlined with the triple threat that you and I attended with Becky and Charlotte and Ronda Rousey. So it was like a very interesting balance that was going on there. I just think like they're promoting Charlotte coming back soon, so I'm trying to decide what they're gonna do there, right? So it to me almost seems like maybe they're doing either they're either doing, well, Ronda is not losing until here's the thing. Ronda Rousey is not losing the belt to anyone.
No.
Pardon me again. She's not losing the belt to anyone who isn't Charlotte or Becky? Or Bailey.
Yeah.
But this is also where they could throw the women's Money in the Bank on someone to cash in, to just steal it from Ronda to get it all first. And this will get, wow. Awesome. I have the hiccups right now. Here we go. I can't be the first person ever. Anth, who on your women's Money in the Bank list do you see cashing in on Ronda Rousey and then losing to either Charlotte or Bailey?
I mean, right now, my guess is going back between Liv Morgan and Alexa Bliss. You know, everybody I'm sure would be saying Becky at this point, but I think she's kind of taking the back row with a lot of these things right now because she's been having a lot of, losses and kind of just working her way back into everything, which is fine. She kind of had her little run, let her kind of, go in the background. I think they want to give Liv Morgan her push and see what she can do. And I'm all for it. But her and Alexa Bliss had a decent match this past Monday on Raw, and I would definitely like to see them both at the end of this Money in the Bank match just brawl it out. So although I like Alexa Bliss, I would like to hope that this is Liv Morgan's chance to get the Money in the Bank and then give her chance to cash in on Ronda. Will she do it that if she wins? Will she do it that night? I don't think they'll let her do it that night. Because we've been seeing that a lot lately. I mean, with the men, I don't think we've really seen it too much with the women, where they win the match and then that night. Well, I think they did it. Didn't they do that last year with the women? I'm not sure. I'd have to go back.
I don't quite remember on that one. I will say,
I don't think we'll have a cash. I don't think we'll have a cash in this weekend on the event, but I would like to hope that Liv Morgan gets her chance. They give her the Money in the Bank, and then she kind of uses that as a tool to get the Ronda. Because that's what she wants. She wants her chance to, get to that championship. So that's my pick for the women. How about you?
Let me go through this full spectrum right here. Pardon me again. I think that they are going to build Liv Morgan up 100% because they have been slow burn building her. Okay. So I could see Bianca retaining against Carmella only because I think initially Rhea was supposed to win to take that belt. I think Rhea was supposed to take that belt to Judgment Day, and she still can. I don't know the severity of her injury. That can still be a thing. They can still run that storyline. That's not expired.
And I was unaware that she was injured anyway, so this is news to me. So
yeah, it's apparently a concussion-oriented situation. Gotcha. I think that we're getting to the point where it's in the mid Mania 20s where it was the title match was we need to put the belt matches on people that necessarily aren't super important, but you would still have Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels, straight up singles match. That's not for a belt match. I think that they're trying to get themselves to the point where it's these women are so elevated to the point where it's they don't need a belt involved.
Yeah.
To where it's okay, where can these female matches be a match that people would sign on to see, Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey? Doesn't have to be for a belt. It's not.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
The two names are going to sell themselves without a belt.
No. Your main title matches need to go even right now, Liv Morgan and Alexa Bliss. They're high-hitting, female caliber level performers. But also, you look at Asuka. I'm looking at this list and I'm I could see Asuka winning the Money in the Bank and people being like, "Oh my god, she got it back again."
Hmm.
Even at the last time she got it, she got the belt handed over to her, and then
By
somehow
Becky, right?
they get it off Asuka. Becky Lynch doesn't need the belt. I mean, she is one in her own. Liv
Right.
Morgan needs this big comeuppance. Bianca Belair is obviously very well viewed in the higher ranks of WWE to the point where it's like, yeah, you need to do Bianca Belair versus Charlotte Flair and let Bianca go over Charlotte and tell Charlotte that, she could go eat and
Whoopsie.
step over with her daddy.
Yeah.
And her husband now, because they're married,
Hmm.
in AEW. And it's like, I feel like Charlotte is just wrapping them around her fingers backstage, and that's why they're booking her
Of
so
course.
strong. And it's just like, we're all tired of you. Like, it's what it is. What it is.
She knows her worth. She knows that, she's going to get in that. Yeah. Okay. So she knows her worth. She knows she's not going to get into any other matches that's going to be non-worthy. So, like you said, she's just, having them, work around her. They're like, hey, I'm either going to be in these type of matches and continue to be doing this, or, I ain't doing jack diddly squat.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this list for the women's Money in the Bank match, and because it's the one thing we haven't really really talked about is it's important to consider what each of these competitors can do with the briefcase. Okay. So it's like, what makes the briefcase interesting on a weekly basis? So I'm going to skip the first person because she's my pick. Alexa Bliss, she could do it. I'm just tired of the
Whoopsie.
doll. Like,
Yeah.
what's her name?
Lily.
Lily. Yeah.
I'm glad that it's not her main focus at this point, but the fact that she still has the doll, I'm like, ugh. But I mean,
yeah.
I'm just glad that they're not centering her gimmick around the doll anymore. But it's just weird. It's just, they can just get away with the doll. I don't know why they just continue to keep the doll with her. But again, they're probably thinking it's still a merch item, so we just can't give it away. Here's your dollies. Get
Yeah.
Lily.
I honestly think
Miss
that
me.
Liv Morgan is just not. I'm going to come back to Liv Morgan too. I'm going to skip her. Raquel Gonzalez or Rodriguez is just fresh off of NXT. Yeah. Not a chance. Asuka,
No.
I know Vince loves her, but I don't think so. Shotzi,
Filler.
she's filler. She's got a gimmick, but like nothing that is making us feel like, oh, is it Ezekiel? Like, no, there's no story there. Lacey Evans, they have attempted on us so many times. Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, it's Becky Lynch wins women's Money in the Bank, cashes in at any time between now and WrestleMania. And I think Liv Morgan wins the women's Mania. And then I think it's Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan, WrestleMania 39. And I think that as long as they keep building Becky Lynch up strong, that's the Raw women's match going into Mania Hollywood. If you it feels like they've been downplaying Liv to the point where they want to blow her up after SummerSlam going into the fall because they tested on her. They're like, we see the potential, we know it's there. And I think that Becky Lynch wants her to get to that level.
Yeah.
And I think Becky wants to help elevate her to that level. And there's no one else in that Money in the Bank match that I'm like, I see this person winning. I see this person winning the Rumble. I think it's those two because they have built that storyline now that they've been testing.
Yeah.
Because miss me with anyone that's like I mean, unless you want to throw Bailey into the equation, at which it's like I would feud Ronda Rousey and Charlotte for the next 6 months. Have Charlotte just beat Ronda and have Ronda go away because I don't care. She can't wrestle.
Yeah.
And then have Bailey beat Charlotte, and then have have Bailey face Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania, because that's a match. That's a match we haven't seen. That's a match, so you could do Ronda and Bailey, and then you could do Becky defends against Money in the Bank winner Liv Morgan. And these are Becky Lynch is huge, superstar, defending against Liv Morgan, Money in the Bank winner cashing in, and then you could have Ronda Rousey, a name in herself, defending against the Royal Rumble winner Bailey. And those are two matches that they fit the card. I would build to that. I would make that giant. Like, that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I don't see anything else in the women's division. It's like, yes, totally. As much as we want to do Bianca Belair versus even like a Bianca versus Asuka or Xia Li. Oh my goodness, what was her name? I can't remember. Oh God, she was great. I can't. No, it's not me. It's not Mia Yim.
Can't think of it.
Okay. Talk to me about the next match. Okay, real quick, just to fill the time. Talk to me about Theory versus Bobby Lashley. We obviously know where this is going.
I think Theory is going to pull it out, but I think it's going to be a screwy finish. I think he'll just have, either somebody coming out to distract him, or, I think they've been doing the whole, 3-on-1 thing with, what are the other two guys that they were with on Raw last night, or Monday night? Yeah, Monday night. Chad Gable and what's the other guy? I know he changed his name now, but
Otis.
Yeah. So those two have been in the equation with this. So I can see a possible, interference with one of those two guys with the match that is making Theory going to win. So you can say that he pinned Bobby Lashley, but it wasn't a clean pin type of thing. But I think they're just going to keep Theory on this belt for now, because Bobby Lashley clean would just be beating the out of Theory. Obviously, in a real man's fight, obviously Bobby Lashley would crush him. But I think this is obviously just going to be the champion gets the retain, but it's going to be a screwy finish. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Jesus. Sorry. I'm just getting upset because I'm looking for the specific person. I'm not seeing the name.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it must be Io Shirai. I'm thinking, yeah.
Maybe.
It's got to be her. And she was fantastic. I think that she is great on all sorts of levels. I think it's tough to say. I mean, we watched the John Cena 20-year anniversary like throwback last night. And I'd say for the first 3 years, I was like, wow, they're really pushing him. And then for the next 15 years, I was like disgusted to the point where you and I checked out of wrestling until The Rock came back. And then we were like, all right, well, The Rock's back on board.
Yeah.
Let's see what's going on here. and The Rock made it feel special to us again. And we have,
and that was my first taste of actually seeing Cena, because when I stopped watching, Cena wasn't even a thing yet. So, just trying to learn everybody that was like in the spotlight at that point, Cena was just coming in. And that's when, obviously had the Cena, or when I think The Rock came back first, he was feuding with CM Punk, I think, first, right?
that's the one.
So then after that, that's when he started having the feuds with Cena.
So it was like 03 to 06 was like the rise of, well, I should say 02 to 05 was like the rise of John Cena.
Yeah.
And then 05 to 10 and 11 was like solidifying Cena as like not just an interim champ, but like he was the guy. But then it was, the Money in the Bank, him versus CM Punk. 2011, I believe, was the year where it was like, that was insane. And then CM Punk left, and then The Rock came in, and then it was like The Rock versus Cena 28 in Miami, and then The Rock versus Cena in North Jersey, which you attended.
Yes.
And that was, this is 9 years ago, so we're going back to 2013 was when you were there. Yeah,
2013, or
like the year
2012, 2013.
Yeah, that's when you guys were there. That was when The Rock came back, and it was like, was this guy here to get his last run in, or was he here to like really solidify Cena as like the guy? And after watching last night and hearing like all the feedback about like, there's so much positivity and feedback from like the locker room, how much respect that people have for him.
Right.
And I know Roman has the respect but that's because he's actively working in that light. But Cena's got like a whole decade on him, as far as I can remember.
Yeah.
What year are we in now? 2022. I mean, Roman has not been in that locker room 10 years, and Cena has a 20-year legacy under his belt. So for Roman to even get to that level, he's got
some time.
He's got some time, but he's already trying to do the Brock Lesnar schedule. So it's like, okay, what's up, man?
Right.
All right, let's wrap up this Money in the Bank prediction thing. Look, this men's, I mean, we got through the rest of them. I'm looking back. Okay, we didn't talk about Usos, Streets, Profits, Streets. I mean, the Usos are keeping that because
the streets.
Come on.
We can obviously do a quick one. I mean, Usos. I mean, I love the Street Profits. I love everything about them. But I don't think they get the win out of this. I think Usos are still going to retain because, with Roman not really doing a lot until SummerSlam, I think they're going to keep their belts to kind of try to stay relevant with the whole, faction of everybody having the belts. So they have all the gold and everything. So they'll stick with that little stuff.
I actually can see them somehow facilitating like okay, where are we at? The end of June, between now and Mania, it's almost like a hot potato where the tag team championships drop to someone, and then Roman's
whoopsie,
right? He's mad because the Usos lost that belt, and then in the midst of them winning back that belt that they lost, Roman loses one of his belts. So you build dissension, right? And it's almost like the bloodline needs to have all of the unified stuff, but then it becomes not unified between now and next WrestleMania. And it's like, I would say somewhere along the line, either the tag belts get put up in two separate matches against two separate teams just to make it
Yeah.
be like, oh, maybe the Usos win the first one, lose the second one, or lose the first one. And it's like, oh my God, they're not unified anymore. But then they retain, and then they try to retain that first one back, and then they get that one back. And they just play this hot potato game to troll us as the audience. Like, I could see them doing that. And I mean, obviously see them doing that with the tag belts first, because I think, and I'm going to say, what do we talk about? I mean, Theory
I think we've hit everything about the card except really talking about the men's.
Theory is not losing to Bobby Lashley. There is going to be some finish going on there. It's, you got that number for me, bro? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
But I think the men's, I think Cody Rhodes was supposed to get that Money in the Bank briefcase.
I think so too.
I think we all know that.
Yeah.
So I think this TBA that's standing at the end is because they're still trying to figure out who they want to win this. I think that they're trolling us, but also at the same time, they don't know. I don't think Drew McIntyre's getting it. I don't think Sheamus is getting it.
No.
Omos is not getting it. Sami Zayn is not getting it. I could see Seth Rollins getting it or Riddle getting it.
I could see Riddle pulling the upset. Depending on who this TBD is, my pick is 50-50 between Seth Rollins and Riddle. Yeah, I would say my first initial thing was Seth Rollins, but as a swerve, I can see Riddle doing it, especially with Randy Orton being out. Because with him getting the Money in the Bank, he can be this thing like, hey, I'm doing this without Randy. I'm dedicating this all to Randy and everything. And, you know, his whole shtick with that. And then, but does he get to, I mean, with the fact that he can either pick between, you know, Roman and, well, yeah, Roman and Roman. So I think I can see Riddle, you know, pulling the upset. You know, think everybody thinking Seth's going to be, you know, the one it could be down to those two or something, or it could be down to Seth, Drew, and Riddle or something, or Seth, Omos, and Riddle, something that's like, okay, Riddle has no chance out of this, and then, you know, out of nowhere, Riddle gets the win. It'll definitely be something of like, you know, he'll be in maybe like the top 3, and it's going to be like he's definitely the lowest percentage of you know, being the winner, and something happens where it just comes out of nowhere and he just gets, you know, the swerve win, which would be pretty cool. So
yeah. I actually think that Randy comes in and RKO's Seth. And then Riddle climbs up, grabs a briefcase, and he has it. He's like, "Oh my God, my best friend Randy!" And then, and then do the twist, do the spin. Randy turns on Riddle, and that's it. And then you build the feud, and then you get to the point where it's like the briefcase could go to Randy. And on us, it's like, okay, well, Randy with the briefcase would make more sense going against Roman because he's got the higher likelihood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Randy wins the briefcase and then cashes in and loses the briefcase, and the briefcase isn't even a thing anymore. Like, they just write it off, and then they just builded the feud between Randy and Riddle at Mania next year because it's such a long, drawn out process, right? Like, I could see that definitely being a thing. I don't know if Roman keeps both of the belts going to next Mania. Like, I definitely thought he was going to lose one of them along the way. Like, But they unified them for a reason because they want the next guy, which we thought was Cody, right? Like
Hmm.
that was important. And it still can be. They just have to build compelling television between now and WrestleMania 39 in Los Angeles. Like, and I'm like, I'm just I know you and I lost interest when Brock held the belt for
Yeah, for a
months,
good amount of time. Hmm.
way long. And Roman has held it for a long time.
Yes.
So I don't know. I'm like, as much as like if I had kids and you have a little tone, do you want to pay money to go see this stuff where you're like, nothing's gonna really happen here that's a of like monumental significance? Like,
Hmm.
no, no. I mean, I wouldn't. That's up to you, obviously.
Right.
Um, and anything to acknowledge on Money in the Bank before we wrap up? We're gonna brief on uh one other thing real quick, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the pay per view is going to be pretty good. I mean, regardless of the fact that we really haven't been consistent with watching lately. I think the last 2 weeks we've been tuning in, but I think this is going to be a decent card. I mean, it seems pretty drawn right down the center that we're not going to get any big belt changes. I think the biggest things are going to come out of the Money in the Bank situations, and I think it's just going to be pretty plain and simple for this one. But I think we'll get some decent matches out of it, hopefully. So.
Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge, like, when you approach a Money in the Bank pay per view, the title matches are kind of just there to be there because
Yeah,
all eyes are set on the Money in the Bank winners.
who's
Because,
winning the Money in the Banks? Yep.
but they can always change, which they rarely do. If they don't, and it's on someone that you think is like Baron Corbin, it's like, hmm, this is going to be a failed cash in, y'all, which I am very nervous. I feel like this could be a failed cash in.
Hmm.
It could be, it could be, jeez. It could be Ezekiel against Kevin Owens. Look, they talked, that match was supposed to happen on Raw this past week.
Hmm.
Some people were saying that was a Money in the Bank qualifier match. Some people were saying it wasn't. And to me, it was like, okay, well, if it's Kevin Owens, he needs to effing get the briefcase for once, finally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but to me, if they were gonna put it on like Ezekiel or someone that like I didn't care about, I'd be like, either they're losing or they're losing it to someone else who's gonna take it off of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so at SummerSlam, Brock Lesnar puts Roman Reigns down and out after the last man standing match. They cash in and they still lose. And then what? The Rock comes out.
Hmm.
I just don't know if the Rock comes out that far ahead of time. I don't know. It would
Yeah.
it would definitely draw, obviously, but like
Right.
I don't know if he'll commit that far ahead.
Yeah. I think with uh a Rock and Roman thing, it's definitely going to come down to like the months leading into Mania. I don't think it's going to be a long drawn out thing. We might get some hints leading up to you know Royal Rumble and stuff with Roman and stuff, like giving some hints about, taking shots at The Rock and everything. But then we don't get a face to face or a something from The Rock probably until, after the Rumble or around the Rumble. And then we just lead into the road to WrestleMania
Yeah, I
with it.
don't. I really don't know because I don't know what else he do with Roman after all
Yeah.
this.
Hmm.
Because it's like, what are you going to do? Have Cena face him again? It's like, well, you've had Brock face him again. So you're basically saying Brock and John Cena are it for Roman Reigns as your qualified guys, unless you bring in Goldberg,
Yeah.
which guess what? Gonna happen. And then who else? Can you think of anyone else? Because I can't. I can't. And that's what makes
Me either.
this so frustrating. That's what makes it.
Nobody has the ability to be in that spotlight with Roman right now, because I don't think people have stepped up to the point to make it worth. I mean, they've done the Seth and Roman thing. I wouldn't mind seeing it again. It's the only other person I can see doing something with, because I mean, I think they have a good chemistry. Drew's had his run. I'm kind of done with Drew McIntyre at this point right now.
Me too.
And so that's kind of, yeah. I mean, you really don't have anybody for him. So I mean, it's to the point where he doesn't have to really be on TV, because he knows that he's run through everybody. So what else does he have to prove until he faces Brock Lesnar again? So, and until then, we'll see how this Money in the Bank situation goes, and then we'll be able to kind of see what our predictions are leading up into SummerSlam. So if you guys are watching, that is our predictions, unless, Jim, you have anything else to say about it. But that is our predictions for Money in the Bank. And again, that's going to be, this is coming out Friday. So this will be tomorrow night, Saturday night at 8 p.m., depending Eastern Standard Time for us, depending on where you're watching in the worlds. Check your TV listings.
Yeah,
but I think you wanted to talk a little bit more Phils before we get out of here, right?
I mean, I just want to give my best to Bryce Harper. I think that
oh yeah, definitely.
As far as being a Philadelphia team where we lost Carson Wentz in the year where he was at his best, and the majority of our city, our fan base, definitely. I shouldn't say definitely, because I haven't spoken to everybody, but everyone that I talked to was just like, Nick Foles, I don't think is going to do it. And Nick Foles did it. He took us to the championship. So
yeah,
when Anthony here messaged me the other night, was like, Bryce Harper's out, Phils are done this season, I was like, yeah, well, okay. But Wentz was out. Nick Foles didn't. There's still time for the rest of our team to say, okay, we got to step up to hold up this legacy. I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying they can. And I trust in their intuition that it can happen. I'm not doubting them 100%, because I would never. Not after Nick Foles led us to a championship victory when most people doubted him. I'm like, Bryce Harper, as much as we would love to have him, there's a chance we could do it without him. Our guys just need to get it together. And they can't. They have the time, right?
Yeah, and like I said, we were talking a couple, stats before starting tonight. It's still early in the season, where, I mean, any type of injury is never good, but it's probably better that his injury is happening now, where the season is still brewing, and they're still within I think you were saying they're within like 5 or 8 games out of the first place. So I mean, that's doable, being that they're only 3-4 months into the season, and they got a lot of baseball still to play. So like you said, just got to have some people step up and kind of make the game plan of how they can continue to win games without them. They've already won one without them, so they're capable of doing it. So let's just hope for the best. And, like I said, I was definitely on the verge of saying, like, Bryce Harper, okay, well, there goes the season. But you're staying confident with your Phils that they can get it done. And let's just hope they do that, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's the end of June almost. We have full blown July, August, and September. Um, about 90 games left to go ahead, and we've played uh, less than that. So we're not even halfway through the season as far as I'm concerned. Where are we at here? 39 and 36. So we're at a 0.52. 8 games back. We are 80 games under. I know that we're not playing a full season because we got a little bit of a late start. So we're about halfway of the season and we're above 500. And we're only 8 games behind the Mets, who are leading. And we're only 4 games behind the Braves, who are just ahead of us behind them. There's still time. There's still a lot of
Yeah.
time. So it depends how the team rises without Bryce Harper. There's something to be said about playing with someone on your team that everyone regards as superior, and the rest of the team is just kind of like, okay, well, we're chopped liver, or we're just kind of here collecting our paycheck. Now that their top contender in the
Hmm.
league is out, I think that they're going to fight harder, and I think we're going to see a different Phillies team going forward. AEW, real quick, got to talk on that. Adam Cole got injured at the end of his match at Forbidden Door. From what I heard, haven't seen. Forbidden Door was the best pay per view of the year, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. Um,
Same.
Claudio, aka Cesaro, made his debut.
Cesaro.
Cesaro, I was always
Very
a fan of
stoked.
his in WWE, so I can't wait
Yes,
to
you were.
see what comes of him in AEW. John Moxley is the current interim AEW champion. Can't wait to see how that pans out with CM Punk coming back as the returning champion, because they're doing the, if you're injured, they're doing an interim champion, and then the injured champion comes back, and then they both face off, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I kind of like that they're making that different, and I think that John Moxley versus CM Punk is going to be a very nice match to watch. Um,
Yes.
so
Absolutely.
I commend AEW. I also commend AEW and New Japan for doing this Forbidden Door project, because they're the first of the higher level establishments to do a joint collaborative. I mean, it was called Forbidden Door for a reason, because it's
Right.
just not a thing that's done when you have um, talent secured under your company and contracted. They're not supposed to work for other promotions. The fact
Yeah.
that they're working together and they're cross-breeding their situations, um, it's also a fun thing for WWE to say, well, clearly they need to do that because they're trying to outbeat us, because
Yeah.
we've been this global conglomerate for decades. WWE is going to be in good hands no matter what, because there's people underneath Vince, whether it's Stephanie, whether it's Shane, whether it's Triple H, whether it's Nick Khan, board of directors. People are going to take WWE into um, the next 10, 20, 30 years. Like I said, global conglomerate, whereas AW is just starting, New Japan is just expanding, and they're just working together to capture some of our audience. Um, it's a really like, as soon as AEW came around and was an official thing, friends of ours said it's a great time to be wrestling fans, and uh, I gotta say, it's a fun time to be a wrestling fan. But I wish it was a more fun time to be a WWE fan, only because I wish the product was more
Yeah.
intriguing to be attached to. Because you and I, after the past 20, almost 25 years now, being as drawn to it as we were when we were young, I wish it was that level of amazing. But
Hmm.
one of the reasons why you and I are here right now and today is because of that. So I thank you for your time, man. Anything before we wrap up?
Just to quickly wrap up what you were saying, I can definitely see, hopefully, I mean, like you said, WWE doesn't need to do a Forbidden Door type of thing because they already have established their whole thing. But I would not be surprised within the next, foreseeable future that we can hopefully get all these companies to be able to start doing all these different types of Forbidden Door pay-per-views, because I think that would be freaking sweet to see like WWE and an AEW coming together, AEW and New Japan, AEW, Impact Wrestling, all these different companies, because they're all in it for the love of the sport. Why not give what the people want? And that would be awesome to just see all these different wrestlers from different companies, kind of make it almost like a Survivor Series type of thing, like the best of the best wrestlers representing WWE, vice versa for AEW and everything else, and then they just brawl out. That would be such entertainment. So I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, but I would like to hopefully see that in the foreseeable future within these next couple of years. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing there is money.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
Because you're going to have WWE that, assumably, is that the word? Most likely has the funds to fork over a larger dollar amount for a match to happen between, let's say, a triple threat match, like you said, Survivor Series, let's call it Triple Threat Mania. And it's just these three companies, Triple Threat Mania, and you have your biggest people from this company, this company, this company, but like the payout, like, and who produces the matches, because there's going to be like some sort of way to negotiate, like, okay, well, we want so and so to negotiate the match, but if WWE is hosting the event, they're going to say it's either got to be even. Like, let's say we have 9 matches, 3 winners from each company.
Yeah.
And let's be serious. The top winner, like the top tier championship match, has to be ours. We're winning it because we're hosting it. And we're like, that's where it gets a little funky. And that's why Forbidden Door, to me, I was like, okay, well, they're not going to crown the interim the interim AEW champion as the guy from New Japan. It's going to be the AEW guy, which to me, I was like, Moxley's winning the belt, because we don't know when we're seeing. I don't know New Japan enough. My apologies. Right. Tanahashi. Maybe I'm wrong.
Kobayashi?
Perhaps. But
something like that.
I think if you do 1, 2, 3, like, it would have to depend on what the roster looked like and how they would move around. What makes sense for where to win and for where to lose, and go from there. I don't know. I think that this is a conversation for a whole different date. I think this is something where you and I would need to be a little bit more brushed up on New Japan and All Elite, and say, let's pick our favorites and go here. Book 9 matches, tag team, European, Intercontinental. I know they have a whole other slew of belts, the women's belts, and the main belt. Like, we might have to do more than 9 matches. And we'd have to figure it out how it would be evenly split. Even if it was 12 matches or 16 matches, probably 16. I don't know. So let's you and I get some research on that. And anything else that we want to touch on before we sign off here?
Hey, man, this has just been another great episode. We have our predictions for Money in the Bank. Enjoy the pay-per-view if you guys are going to be watching it. This has been One Sec, guys. Rate, review, subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. Give us a review. It'll help us in the charts. Hit us up on Facebook and Instagram. send us a DM, and you can always email us at onesetpod@gmail.com. Send us, some questions. When we get some questions, we'll answer them on the pod. So thank you, brother, for another episode, and thank you for all the listeners. We'll see you on another one.
And love you, bro. Talk soon.
Love you too.